Okay, Robert, thank you very much for this interview. The first thing I want to ask you is, what does Freddy Krueger means in your life? Not only your professional life, but your whole life.
Well, you know, the great thing for me with choosing to play Freddy, and I was quite successful on television when I took the role. It just fit into my schedule. The great thing was that it was an international success. So Freddy and my TV series V opened the doors for me to work all over the world. And I think I've done 14 or 15 movies overseas now, besides the ones I do in Hollywood. And it's just been it was an accident, but a happy accident of my career. And it wouldn't have happened had I not played Freddy.
What do you say is a happy accident? Why do you say it's an accident?
Well, because when you're an actor, you don't choose that as a career thing. You just you choose the role, or you do it for the money, or you do it because you like the director, or there's an actor you want to work with, or it's a particular location you want to go work in. And I never realized, because it's kind of a very American film, but the universal aspect is that all over the world people have nightmares, bad dreams, and that was the hook that made us an international success.
Okay, one of the things that I wanted to tell you is when I was like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, the only character that couldn't let me sleep was Freddy Krueger. I don't know how you did it, but what can you say about Wes Craven and this idea that he once created and became maybe the horror movie, the excellent horror movie?
Well, you know, Wes actually changed horror movies 3 times. First, with his dark kind of Bergman-esque horror movies, The Hills Have Eyes and The Last House on the Left. Then the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, 8 films. Then the Scream movies, 3 different kinds. He sort of deconstructed horror when he did the Scream movies. And maybe those would argue also with Nightmare 7, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So this was a genius. This guy was really amazing. He did it 3 times, completely refreshed the horror genre. And so I'm just really honored to have worked with him, and I'm still dealing with the loss of Wes dying last year, yeah.
And beside this nightmare that is pretty much everywhere in the whole world, is there anything else in these kind of movies, the nightmares movies, of course, that you think that it might take attention from fans? Because horror movies, we have like 10 or 20 horror movies every year, but the ones with Freddy really stuck on people's mind.
Well, you see, I'm very lucky. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies were 8 movies over 20 years, 1984 to 2004. Plus, at that same time, cable television became popular. Then video, then video box sets, the fancy ones, then DVD, then Blu-ray, then digitally remastered box sets of DVD, and now streaming, Netflix, Amazon. So I've benefited. I'm on my 3rd generation of fans. So somewhere in Buenos Aires, right now, a little boy, a 12-year-old boy, is watching the first Nightmare movie, but he's not watching it on a little television in black and white. He's watching it on a flat screen in a beautifully remastered, or he's downloading it and streaming it on his laptop perfectly in digital. So I get new fans all the time. When I was a kid, we had to stay up late and watch it on the Late Late Show on TV, and with commercials, yeah, while your parents were asleep. Or we'd go to the matinee at the movie theater and watch it, but you couldn't, there was no pause button then, you couldn't watch it over and over again. There was no the making of.
But do you think that streaming platforms like Netflix, it might be eventually one of the causes of cinema dying?
No, you always need, like, you can't watch Avatar, or you can't watch Guardians of the Galaxy, or Deadpool on a little screen. You need to see those movies with other people on a big screen in IMAX 3D. They're wonderful to watch that way. The Life of Pi. I think parents should take their children to see Life of Pi on a big screen with a little 3D glasses. It's a great, great film.
It's still a familiar thing, right? You go with your kids, with your mom. And another thing I wanted to know, in 2010 we had the last Nightmare movie. It wasn't that kind of success like the previous one. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think they brought it out too soon. It was too soon because they had just released the box set of DVD, Blu-ray, digitally remastered. So a whole new generation of young fans were falling in love watching the Nightmare on Elm Street movies on a big 50-inch flat screen. They look great. They hold up. If you watch Freddy vs. Jason or Wes Craven's New Nightmare or The Dream Child on a 50-inch flat screen, it looks like it was made yesterday. They don't look like old-time movies. So we're able to get newer and newer generations. And I try to tell the fans at Comic-Cons and when I do interviews like I'm doing with you, to look for these movies. Go to On Demand and watch the free previews of the new horror movies and find the ones you want to see.
About those new horror movies, where do you think the industry in horror movies is going? Like a psychological horror or maybe more grotesque?
Well, I love the period horror. My favorite project now that my wife and I are binging is the series Penny Dreadful from England. Oh, we love it. And I mean, I think it's like reading a graphic novel. For me, it's like a very successful mashup. But last year there was a great horror movie called It Follows. And this year there's a new one called The Green Room that I highly recommend. And I just starred with Lin Shaye, who stars in all the Insidious franchise. And she and I just did a movie called Midnight Man in Canada, which I think is going to be great. It comes out next year. But it's that kind of subset of horror about the game you shouldn't play.
There's a question that I don't know if you are going to, if you want to answer it, but thinking in Freddy Krueger's mind, who do you think is more scary, Freddy Krueger or Donald Trump?
Oh, I think Donald Trump's pretty scary. Let me tell you. I think that somehow people have confused his candidacy for president with the fact that he is an eccentric personality that we kind of like to see on TV. And so the media follows him wherever he goes, and he is an eccentric character. You know, in England, in Britain, they love eccentric characters, unique characters, and we do in America as well. But that doesn't mean we want one for president.
Last question. What do you think is the future for Nightmares movie with Freddy Krueger? Will it be another actor that might represent him?
Well, you know, they had a new actor for the remake of Part 1. I think the idea is that for a newer, younger audience, they want to reboot the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, the Friday the 13th franchise. This is all under the auspices of Platinum Doom, which is Michael Bay's company. Through Time Warner, they got the rights to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And the rumors I hear, I think they're going to do a reboot of Part 3, The Dream Warriors.
Yes, like you say, right? We have a new generation willing to see these movies.
And maybe they'll invite me to do a cameo as the old Dream expert.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Robert, thank you very much for this moment with Channel 26, Canal 26, and we're looking forward to have you again here in Argentina.
Thank you. Gracias.